Hello and welcome to the ThreeWill podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan, and I have Tommy here with me. Good morning, Tommy.
Good morning, Danny.
How are things going?
Going well. A little chilly this morning.
Yeah, winter has arrived. Yes, it's almost Christmas, so that's a good thing. Let me see the songs. Oh, Starry Night.
Yeah, I think I've shown you these, but
Those are nice.
yeah, they're one of my favorites.
Those are some fancy shoes, too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. You didn't get those from Bobby, did you?
No.
Okay.
You're wondering if you're not getting first dibs anymore?
That's my connection to clothes and to shoes. So
I can resell them to you.
So today I wanted to talk about sort of follow up from last week and talk about humble confidence. And so I know through the years we've sort of tried to characterize what makes us different and sort of what our internal values are. And we keep on coming back to this idea of we want people who are competent at what they do, who are really, we have a lot of very technical folks, great problem solvers, very competent people. But then we notice that sometimes with working with other folks, the really competent folks have, make you feel bad, make you feel like you're dumb, make you feel like you're not able to work with them. And so this idea of humility has become very important as well, so that the person is approachable, the person doesn't make you feel like, you don't know what you're talking about. And this is especially from the view of a client. A client is looking for us to help them out, and they need outside expertise. And so that's just been a really important thing for us, which is humble confidence. What does it mean from you? Where did it come from? What sort of, give me a little bit of a background on it for you.
Sure, yeah. I think over the years, in my experience in consulting and just working with people in the technology field, the people that I enjoyed working with the most were smart people that were humble. And you just felt like you were able to have a dialogue, you were able to contribute, to the conversation. You felt like you were a part of, that journey of figuring something out, very technical. And, I think we want that for our customers. You always want to look at what does it feel like to be on the other side of the table. And, from my experience, I feel like someone that is humbly confident is the person you want to work with. You run across people that are very smart and maybe don't have that balance of both intellectual IQ and emotional IQ.
Yeah.
And you feel like, gosh darn it, it would be nice if there was some emotional IQ there because we could accomplish more. I think you become more isolated in a solution if you have that arrogance to you and you cannot, speak to the level of your customer and understand and empathize in a situation. And it goes back to kind of last time we were talking about that buzzword synergy. I think it does create that 1 + 1 = 3 scenario when you can approach a situation with humble confidence.
I think it's great that you brought up emotional intelligence with intellectual. I think this is what we're trying to do is combine the two of those, and it's sometimes you don't find it. That's a very difficult quality to find because you have people lean towards one side or the other. They could really care about you, but they're not able to solve your problem, or they really want to solve your problem and you don't feel like they care about you.
Yeah. And I think, what happens sometimes is you get people that can care about you, but maybe not have, the intellectual capacity to solve the problem. Or you have people that, are very intellectual, but they kind of lean on that versus work on the emotional side. And I think you can tend to use one or the other as a crutch. If you get really good at the emotional IQ side of things, you can spin things well. You can, keep the conversation going. You can actually sound like maybe you know what you're doing when you don't know what you're doing. And that can be dangerous. And then you can, leaning on the intellectual side, which is, I know I'm right. I need to prove the person on the other side of the table that I'm right. and I'm going to take the fastest path I can to prove that I'm right. And we know where that leads to. It leads to people digging in their heels and feeling like they're not being heard, and so you never come to a solution. There ends up being this kind of fight or flight type scenario.
Yesterday I did a podcast interview with Cassie Crossley. She was starting up her own podcast, and we did an interview, and we were talking actually about this subject.
Oh, cool.
Because we were, we were talking about how do you hire the right people, and I this is where humble confidence sort of came up, and I think I guess when we're looking at bringing new folks on board, how do you find this quality? I mean, how do you distinguish that a person has this quality?
It's tough. I think there's a little bit of, in an interview process, how balanced is the conversation? Are they taking time to listen? You can see it in cues and body language of, how the person comes, delivers a message. And, at times, someone that's humbly confident undersells themselves. Mm-hmm. And so I try to get a sense of, does there seem to be, some level of a strong technical foundation, and how do they handle, the interaction and the challenge of an interview process, and the way they handle that, to me, starts giving you indications of, are they humbly confident? And for example, you could get into an interview process and the person can just belabor the amount of knowledge they have on a particular topic to kind of prove that they're smart enough to work, at ThreeWill type thing. Mm-hmm. And when I start seeing that, when I see someone talking too much and trying to prove too hard how smart they are, then I start thinking, well, there's probably going to be a challenge here with humble confidence and them representing ThreeWill in a humbly confident way.
I think one of the people around here that really epitomizes this is Kirk Lamone, because he could be the smartest person in the room and know the most exact correct answer, yet he will listen to other people. He'll he'll tell you what he doesn't know. He's really puts himself out there. And sometimes it's difficult to have that in the sales process, but in delivery, man, that's the type of person you want to be beside. They just sort of lay it all out there, and they know how to solve problems. But when there are certain things that they're uncertain of, they're confident enough in themselves. They're courageous enough as an individual to put themselves out there and share maybe what they don't know.
Right. And that can be a fine line. That can be a tight, quite a difficult thing to walk that tightrope of staying humble and also being confident, because, you can go a little bit too far in the humble side and undersell yourself and start eroding that confident side of what the customer needs to feel like I'm being taken care of.
Yeah.
And so I think we're always coaching people to, lean in either direction based on, sometimes it's the audience and where you are in that relationship and in that conversation, where you determine, how much of the humble you turn up and how much of the confident you turn up. And so there's an art to that. Mm-hmm. And, we work with people at ThreeWill to make sure we bring them into situations where they can shine and kind of bring their strengths of how they approach that humble confidence in a way that is going to best serve the customer, at the right time in the right place.
Yeah, I think especially where we're talking about in the consulting realm, because people are looking at us as experts, and so they want to make sure that they're working with the right folks first off, and then some of this stuff that people, when they're engaging us, they don't want to know how the sausage is made; they just want it done.
That's right.
And so if there are risks, they definitely get those documented, but you don't have to keep on. You come up with mitigation plans to them. Maybe you have conversations with other team members, but there is certain things that you don't need to let the client know that that makes sense for you to work through risk-wise with the team, but you don't want to always be screaming wolf either.
Right, because we want to be a part of the problem. I mean,
Whoa,
a part of the solution, not the problem. I kind of short-circuited that phrase there.
Wow.
No, we do not want to be part of the problem. No, that's the point. Is I think our customers have enough problems, and at the end of the day, we want to be careful on how much we surface to them, and that again has its appropriate balance where you need to bring things up that empower the customer, that give them the ability to choose the path when it's time for them to make a choice, versus bringing up things that are outside of their control, things that we need to address. And maybe we give awareness of that, but at the end of the day, we're owning it as though it's our problem. And so trying not to surface up those problems too much, but knowing when is it the right time to get the customer involved, so they feel like, well, you didn't wait too long to tell me this, and also at the same time, you weren't just telling me every single problem you ran up against each day, because it's easy to kind of say, I've got all these issues, and kind of sandbag, this is impossible to do, and create so much worry for the customer. We're always trying to find that right balance of how much do I expose to the customer to enable them, not to paralyze them and make them feel like this is impossible. So that's tough to do. And I think with a good balance of humble confidence, when to bring up those problems and when to solve them for the customer without burdening them with the problem.
One of the other benefits to having folks around here with this character trait is it creates a great learning environment. So people who are starting up new at ThreeWill, working alongside with those folks. I think back in my career, like Dave Cohen back at Extreme Logic, how he was he was the smartest guy in the room, yet I feel like I could come and ask him a question. He wouldn't belittle me. He wouldn't make me feel like I was stupid, and he would sort of talk me through it. And so I think it's important to us as we grow as a company and as we bring on younger folks that we have this so that they feel like other people on their team are approachable.
I agree. It does create a great learning environment when you have people that are humbly confident. I've said it this way to some people that have interviewed for ThreeWill, is that what you'll find is a bunch of A players that think they're B players, and they feel like there's so many people they can learn from. And that's a great environment to be in, that you feel like you can contribute to others and others can contribute to you in terms of your journey of learning and growing in your career.
So if you're listening to this, you might be looking for an environment like this where this is a really important characteristic. I think Tommy and I could probably go on for another 30 minutes about this. But if you're looking for this type of environment for your career, definitely drop by our website. We've got an open positions, and you can start the whole process, kick the process off with interviewing at ThreeWill. So I know in this upcoming year we're looking to hire at least a couple folks. Is that right, Tom?
Yes, we sure are.
Great. And then I think for if you want to work with a company like us, where we're not coming in and telling you what to do, and are really listening and are competent in what we're doing, yet we come at it in a way that is full of humility. If you're looking to work with a company like us, definitely come to the ThreeWill.com site, go to the Contact Us page, and it'll basically start a conversation with me. And I'd love to hear from you and just to hear more about maybe you're trying to instill this character trait within your own organization. And so I would love to hear from you. So anything else to wrap us up, Tommy?
I think that's good.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.